Oh, good, we're live. Hello, dear Starshines. Welcome to today's lunchtime chats. My name is Christina with Light Body Academy, and I am an acceleration expert. For those of you who are new to the chats, we are here to talk about those topics and issues that are significant for us way showers, star seeds, new paradigm visionaries. We have perceptions and abilities that are different than the average human family, or perhaps what they are willing to embrace. Therefore, we have very different perspectives to the experiences happening with humanity right now, and we are here to talk about those challenges and those perspectives. And I do, to the best of my ability, to bring a liberated perspective to these pieces. How do we walk these challenging times, maintaining our personal sovereignty and our multidimensional nature? So welcome, welcome, welcome. As you guys come in, go ahead and say hi. Let me know you're here and let us know where you're from. We have some interesting things to talk about. It's also funny because I had something in my mind that I wanted to talk about, and in like 10 minutes before the chats, I realized I didn't check the Telegram feed, and there's some really great questions in the Telegram feed. So I want to include some of those as well. One of them being the distortions of some of the sacred geometry teachings that are on this planet. And so one of them is talking about the daisy of death. What is the daisy of death, and how is that different than the living, breathing, what some might call flower of life? And then talk about some other issues about how are we maintaining ourselves? What kinds of things is effective for folks, what kinds of things, what kind of recommendations I can make, stuff like this to help maintain ourselves through these super tense times. And then there's going to be, there's a few other things in here. Without reading it all, there's a few other things in here as well. And so, now, back in the day, when I did, every time I do these chats, I would do a multidimensional activation while within the chat, and what that would do is like it would activate things within people, within their being, and once that gets activated, they're able to be open. Their mental field becomes a lot more open to ideas and thought forms that before were elusive, So it's kind of like we're so used to being in this particular way, this particular pattern, and then when I would go and do those activations, it would totally shift that pattern, and then you would get glimpses of other thoughts, other ideas, other possibilities. As time goes by, of course, we changed the format, and now we're more in this level, which still works, because as we are multidimensional beings, you're listening to me talk about these things, but I'm also transmitting frequencies. And if you have an antenna and a yes to receive these transmissions, you're going to receive them, and they're going to, in your subconscious, your spirit's going to download that, and you're going to integrate to your own pace. So we are all multidimensional beings here. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because there's this really relates to the kinds of teachings that many of us are exposed to, and sometimes people have some intrepidation or fear about going down the wrong path, right? So I want to talk about that. But first, let me pause and say hello to our brothers and sisters joining the chat. Welcome, welcome. Young chick named Jim. I want to call you Tricky. Hello, dear, aloha, dear sister Joanne. Good to see you. And Carol, hello, Beverly and Polly. Okay, the family's here. All right, good to see you. Hello, beautiful. Hi, Sheen. Nice to have you. Let us know where you're from. Let each other know where you're from if you're want to be open like that. Oh, is the camera fuzzy? Is it fuzzy for other people as well? On my end, it's looking clear. So let me know here. Maybe I can bring up the video of the alternate thing here and see what it looks like. Guys, let me know if it's fuzzy for you. Let's see if can I even watch my own broadcast? I don't know. Turn down the volume, that's for sure. Oh, it is. It's a little fuzzy, isn't it? It's grainy. Okay, okay. Let me see if I'm going to move my hotspot and see if that changes stuff because the camera itself and the stuff is showing crystal clear on my side. So let me move my hotspot. I'll be right back. Okay, did that make it better? It's the bandwidth. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, okay, okay. So Tricky is saying it's the bandwidth because it's not blurry for him, just pixelated. Not blurry, just pixelated. Okay, let me look at it on here too. Oh, actually, that seemed to it's cleared up on this too. Okay, is it doable? If it's not, let me know. If we'll just kind of keep rolling with it. I always kind of have some technical, not always, I shouldn't say that. I often have some technical weirdness go on. As you guys know, there's a lot of weird things happening, and who knows with the bots, with the technology, all that stuff, you know. But anyway, let me get back to where I was. So, how many here? I'm going to ask you a question. How many here, uh, in their awareness, has this feeling, or perhaps is concerned about potentially going down the wrong path, like maybe following the wrong teacher or picking up the wrong teachings, or maybe you're picking up teachings that might be corrupt in some way? Are you getting exposed to something? Okay, please let me know. I would love to hear this from you guys because from my observation, I feel like everybody ask themselves this question, and if you, in retrospect, feel like you have gone down the wrong path, does that mean that it wasn't beneficial, right? Does that mean it wasn't beneficial, or was it more of, oh, the path was something other than what you thought it was? All right, tricky. Okay, I'm just playing. If it annoys you that I say that, just tell me, and I'll use your full handle. Says I questioned whether my shamanic teacher was a Freemason for a long time. She was worried, so I was worried about it for a while. Okay, yeah, okay, yeah, and maybe there's some subliminal transmissions that might be in there, right? It's like, what's this person doing to me? And I'm saying yes, these transmissions, but I have no idea, right? There's stuff like that. Could they be some covert agent for dark forces? Could they actually be initiating me down a path into further separation and fragmentation? Okay, that's often a question being asked. Yeah, I want everybody to think about it, to just reflect on that. Joanne says no. So good. All right, Joanne, you're solid, right? You never worried about that. Perhaps it was just never an issue in your world. So I bring this up in relationship to the teachings of Metatron's cube and the flower of death, the death daisy. I can't remember exactly how it was expressed, but I've heard it said like that before. And I think it was dear brother George Kavasalis a long time ago. I heard him say that because this is something that he brings forward in his work. For many years, and of course is still talking about it. All right, Trika says, yeah, I was concerned he could teach me the wrong thing on purpose so that when I perform rituals, I could be harmed. But I feel more comfortable now with it. Okay, cool. Right, like, all right, nice. So now I posted something a while back where the death daisy versus the true flower of life, right? And a lot of people get triggered by that because they really love the flower of life and the flower of life teachings. And what I'm talking about is the flower of life teachings made known by Drunvalo Melchizedek. Now, I actually studied with him for a short time. I was never really in resonance with him, but I was like, the serendipity and synchronicity brought me to a workshop of his in Sedona when he first came out with his new version of the Awakened Heart series. Okay. And yeah, so I found myself there, and that particular teaching was something that he said within that workshop really got me thinking. And what he talked about was the original teachings of the flower of life. I'm talking about the years and years and years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. He's been doing this a long, long time. He said that was a synthetic version of the practice he was trying to teach. So it wasn't a natural version. It was a synthetic version of what he was trying to teach, what he's trying to bring through to humanity. And that now this current awakened heart teachings he's putting out is the organic version. Now this was many years ago. This was like, gosh, now I can't remember. I think it might have been around 2012. It was like 10 years ago or so. And it was long before a lot of people were differentiating. They weren't aware of AI on the level that they are now, right? So a lot of people are really about, I want to be in the organic universe. I intend to unplug from the synthetic, and this kind of thing. A lot of AI technology people don't even go towards, because there's a fear or there's a concern that it is perhaps distorted, and because it's synthetic, right? And I found that to be a really interesting statement, because it stuck with me. And here's the thing: it's like it's really it makes me laugh now, but it used to be really frustrating back then, because things would jump out at me that I didn't understand, but I couldn't let it go. You know what I mean? It was one of those kinds of things. And there were so many things talked about and done over that weekend that wasn't something that I was going to that wasn't a hair that I was going to be able to split at that, anytime soon. Because at that time I was really concerned about the bifurcation timelines everybody kept convincing themselves was an absolute. We were all fated to be on a bifurcation timeline with the planet. And every part of my being was like, no, it does not have to be that way. I'm not saying that it's not going to be that way, because if the majority of humans want that, that's going to be what happens, right? But I felt deep inside of my being that's not actually the truth, that it's going to happen. Like, that's the prophecy, and let me talk a little bit about the difference between fate and destiny, right? Fate is something that happens when you're on cruise control. Fate is when you're, flying comfortably on that jumbo jet. You get to have first class service, you get to have your cocktail, a nice conversation, maybe a really great movie. You're flying through life rather comfortably, versus when you are going after your destiny. You create that destiny. You are on the constant razor's edge of the moment, right? You're on the constant razor's edge of creating and meeting the moment. And that means you're fully, as a multidimensional being, all of your senses and your awarenesses are engaged with not just your actions, but your motivations, and you're dreaming of things forward. And, there's lots of nesting dolls of who you are activated and working together to create your destiny. Okay. So back then I was super, super into, speaking out about that. It's like, listen, the bifurcation timeline is a fate. It's not our destiny, right? But it takes humanity stepping up to themselves in a big way to create the destiny. That's true. That's the reason why they're here, So way later, this other piece about the synthetic versus organic started coming forward, and this is when Kavassalas came and I got to meet him in person and listen to one of his talks, and I'm always been drawn to his work, and that particular talk was talking about the daisy of death and the control systems, and that we humans there's a multi-dimensional cosmic empire that is dominating the consciousness of humans right now, and pretty much commodifying our life force. Maybe you guys can resonate with that. And one of the things that people need to wake up to is they need to wake up to all the levels at which they are under control, right? So the first level that humanity has to wake up to is the what we see going on now, the technocracy, the corporate control, big pharma control. It's like infiltrated all of our media and our government and our the lobby, and all the pretty much all the control systems of this planet are run by a small select few. Now, the amazing Polly does some really great research, and she's able to connect the dots that it's like the same 24 people that are on the boards of all these organizations that are making major decisions for the entire world, like the World Economic Forum and the WHO, and then tie it into the CDC and the NIH, and tie it into the World Medical Academy, and all of these organizations. It looks like it's a whole plethora of populations making decisions and directing the course of humanity, when really it's just a couple dozen humans, and they're just all on the same, they're cronies, they're all on the same board influencing things. So in the way he was shaping up, is that humans need to wake up to that. They need to wake up to the banker, the banksters, and the elite systems in place that create the illusions of choices, right? Now, I think all of us here have woken up to that, right? We're pretty on it. But the piece I want to weave in here is that, in my experience with unraveling blind spots and unraveling control systems from people's subconscious and their bodies, is that these forces are kept in place by more than just a group of human consciousness, a group of humans. It's also kept in place by the beings in our solar ring. And I'm not talking about just ETs in spaceships. That's not what I mean. I mean the actual planets that are within our solar ring are conscious, and they influence our consciousness. They are actually the last layer of the collective, that 4D canopy, that 4D field that is blinding humanity. They're that last of that layer. And so as your consciousness goes beyond that canopy, that's when you start going into the Akasha and realizing that you've been on a never-ending journey, and you know the face of death much more than the actual face that you see in the mirror. You know what I mean? So these are all, and Saturn is the planet that holds a lot of these control systems in place. So there's there's these dark lords of Saturn. I'm not the only one that calls them that. I've actually heard. I was so relieved to hear George Bosselis talk about dark lords. I'm like, oh, good. Someone else can see it like that too, So because he talks about it as well. But the dark lords of Saturn are the energies that are in our solar ring that really govern. They're like the foundation frequency that all these other control systems on our planet is built on. Okay. And so you have the dark lord of religion. Okay. Now think about that. A structure is in place that governs our relationship to self, to the all that is presence, that is us. Right? Then you have dark lords of military. Okay. Now this is huge, because how long has humanity been killing each other over God? Right? Okay. Then you have the dark lord of our education system, right? The whole indoctrination system that we have particularly in the West, right? So there's these pieces. The medical system. There's a dark lord of the medical system as well, and it just keeps going. And the reason why I bring this up, because Saturn is a really important thing to remember here, because because the control systems are multidimensional. And so the next thing that he brings, that he also says humanity needs to wake up, is the next layer of that multidimensional control system, and that is controlling of life force. That's the controlling of the feminine. All right. Now, the feminine, the need to dominate the feminine has been in the consciousness of humanity for a long, long time. Okay, a long time, thousands and thousands of years. Ever since the patriarchy, right, came in. And that patriarchy coming in wasn't just the turning of the tides like a political climate. It was actually an attack on the feminine mysteries. I mean, like the temples of Delphi, that sisterhood was massacred. The sisterhoods that held the secrets of how to have immaculate conception and other kinds of what we might call ascension teachings that all had to go underground. And it didn't completely disappear, obviously, because it resurfaced in our stories with the story of Jesus. I don't think people realize that Mary, the mother of Jesus, not that that was really his name back then, because I believe that that was all distorted, right? He really did exist, but not in the way that they convey it. But Mary, the mother of Jesus, was immaculately conceived as well by her mother, Saint Anne. And she was 89 years old or something like this when she conceived Mary, right? So there's these deep mystery secrets that come with the feminine force. And for many thousands of years, there's been this need of the patriarchy to confine and hold and all that stuff. Hence all the crazy distortions that we've done to women's bodies over the centuries, right? Okay. I'm getting to it. So these control systems, what I'm saying is that they're multidimensional. They are not just a handful of distorted families in charge of stuff. It's also the very geometry that we believe is part of the creation of our reality. Something else I learned from Drumbelow. See, there was a reason why I was there in that workshop, even though I knew I wasn't in residence with him. I was there because he was revealing some really deep teachings that even he did not understand yet. And one of them is that there are multiple golden mean ratios. And depending on what golden mean ratio was unfolding within your cells, that dictated what universe you were unfolding yourself within. Let that sink in what I just said, okay? That means that there are a plethora of base platonic solids, let's say, of geometries that life is mapped within, okay? So what that means, so as I heard him say that and it just sunk in so deep, because I was like, whoa, that was important. That was like, right? So it took me years and years and years of contemplation to work out all of the downloads and experiences I had there. The other weird thing that happened, because he sets up all these grids and stuff in the group, is that when I went to the group, it's like all of a sudden I couldn't see anymore. My intuitive awarenesses were like super dampened down, and I thought that was really odd. Not that I couldn't function, but they were not as sharp or as clear as they normally were. And I kind of seemed like to be the only one experiencing that. And I didn't know what that was about. But way later, I figured it out. All right, let me pause because there's a couple questions here. Where'd it go? It had to do with... path has been winding and many. Okay. I'm going to get back to that, Joanne. Metatron. All right. So Tricky says, are you saying Metatron's cube, the daisy of death, is part of the control matrix and is a synthetic version of the flower of life? Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying that is an engineered geometry that allows for easier control. That's what it is. But here's the thing. If you're unfolding within the golden mean ratio that we currently embrace, okay, that flower, working with that geometry with the flower of life, is part of the rungs of the ladder that you need to work in order to get to the ceiling of what that is, and then you can bust through. Okay. Now things are highly accelerated these days, so maybe it's not quite like that anymore. For me, it absolutely was. I had to keep working with that energy over and over and over again until I reached that point where I just busted right through all of that, all of those patterns that were in my system. And once I did, I experienced like a liberation, like you wouldn't believe. It was really cool, really, really cool. And that was with the assistance of the Kero, because a lot of the transmissions that I was being given, they were growing. And as they were growing, once they reached a critical mass within my being, right, that was supporting me in that whole journey for the breakthrough. And one of those transmissions is a rite that actually changes the way your body ages. It changes the way you progress through time. Okay, it changes the way one's body literally progresses through time. Okay, and I mean, it's so important for us to understand what it means to be as a multidimensional, because when you look at this as in a multidimensional way, it's like, oh, of course you can progress through time differently. Some people are more accelerated through time than others, some people, right? And of course, the geometry that's in your body is indicative to what reality your consciousness is unfolding, right? but if that's not in place, that sounds like something that's impossible. It sounds like a contradictory to reality when you say things like that. All right, let me get back to so the cube, the Metatron's cube, Metatron himself. I'm going to include that. I'm sorry, this is bumping up against belief systems, but like I say, things are true until they're not. They're true for you until they're not. That was a great teacher until it wasn't. That was the right teacher until it wasn't. It was a teacher of light until they became a teacher of the dark. That's how it is with everything. So the flower, the daisy of death, is empowering until it's not. You see what I mean? Your spirit is the one driving your life force through this timeline, through this reality. Okay, your spirit is. You may think it's your ego, but it's not. Your ego is really the one that's along for the ride, trying to make sense of the game. But your spirit is putting the steps in front of you. You see what I mean? The Sri Yantra. I love the Sri Yantra. And no, that's not at all. That if you overlay the Sri Yantra on the flower of life or even Metatron's cube, it doesn't fit. You guys check it out. It doesn't fit. It doesn't. It's not a harmonic fit. I know I tried that because that was one of the things I was like, oh, does that mean the Sri Yantra too is distorted? And so far, what I've explored, it doesn't. It seems like the Sri Yantra still has that integrity. Anyway, getting back to oh crap, I was on that vein and I just glanced over and I lost it. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll go through. There's a lot of comments now, so let me go through the comments and let's see if I can pick back the path, this thread that I was on. All right, I feel more comfortable with that. All right, so Joanne says the path has been a winding one with many lessons, with nuances along the way, but never led astray. That's awesome. That's awesome. Hello, so schooling. Good to see you, dear. Hello, Tony. Nice to see you. Polly says, amazing. Polly is such a dog with a bone investigator. Yeah. I encourage you guys to check her out. And it's interesting, okay, so let me go down. Let me finish. I was going to go on a tangent, but I want to not do that because that will totally take me for the rest of this time. All right. Are you saying the Metatron's cube, Daisy Death, is part of the control matrix, synthetic version of flower of life? Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. But it doesn't mean it's not going to empower you. If it's going to do what it needs to do until it doesn't. And your job is to notice when it stops, when it's no longer something that's liberating you. Okay. Now I'm talking, yeah. So, all right. So maybe I might be confusing terms. Daisy of Death is not the same as the flower of life. And let me see if I don't have any images. So how can I get some images? All right. You guys know what the flower of life is on top, or they don't know. Okay. Because, all right. Let me see if I can get a graphic up here to show you guys those geometries that I'm talking about. Let's try that first. Because I feel like we're confusing people by what we're talking about. It's way back there too. That was posted a long time ago. That was posted. If anybody has my PM that has that graphic, actually Beverly, if you're still here, can you go through those postings and find that graphic where it has the Daisy of Death next to the flower of life and explains that has that. I know it's on the Telegram group for sure. It's way back there though. It was several weeks ago, I think, that it was posted. And here's the thing. And once I'm going to scroll through and see if I can talk at the same time. So here's the thing. there's always truth woven in with the distortions. Nothing is a straight out lie. Everything is a tweak on the truth. It's a skew to the truth. Okay. And this is why no matter if your teacher is dark or light, you're going to get somewhere, because the inner compass inside of you, your spirit inside of you, is going to steer you to look at the truth. Even if it's a 2x4 hitting you in the head, right? Your spirit is doing that. And it's never going to stop. It's never going to give up on you. It's going to constantly bring it until eventually what needs to get seen and acknowledged gets seen and acknowledged. That's what that's going to be. So it goes on for lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. It's, when you feel like sometimes people start to feel like, maybe God hates me because the same thing keeps happening over and over and over again. Okay. It's not that God hates you. It's your spirit who loves you, who loves every molecule, every particle of your being, because you are love, and you're at the particle level, that's love, right? What it is that there's a pattern alive inside of you that you don't know is there, and you need to look at something. You need to look at it in order to experience a different pattern. It's something different. And this is why we experience things over and over and over again, and it never seems to change, right? It's because we didn't see what needed to be seen. We didn't find the deeper level that was there. Okay, I'm still scrolling through. I'm not finding it yet. Oh my gosh. So if any of you guys are also on our Telegram group, if you can help me here a little bit with this posting, it has the natural organic flower of life and the daisy of death right next to each other. It actually labels. I think it even says those labels those that way. I'm gonna give up here in a minute if I don't find it in the next few scrolls. All right, I'm just gonna have to let you guys support me on that. I'm not gonna make it. I don't want to waste everybody's time here. Watching me scroll. Yeah, it's like you're sitting at home with your teenager, scrolling. Okay, guys. Yeah, I'm gonna minimize this now. Let's see where you are. There we go. All right. Any contributions here? Any textings? No. Okay. So when you think about the flower of life, most people think about Drunvalo's flower of life, the one that he brought forward all those years ago. Okay. That isn't what I'm calling the daisy of death. The true flower of life is the ones you see, like, what's his name? Dan Winters, the guy that's the leading expert in ascension physics, Kundalini rising physics, stuff like that. And it's a torsion field that has these spirals happening within it. So there's spirals on the outside and there's spirals on the inside. It's this beautiful feminine looking flower. That's the actual flower of life. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. That's the actual flower of life. All right, now hopefully I'm describing that. All right, it's somewhere. I don't know, maybe. All right, yeah, I'll get to the Merkaba. Let me go back to the comments here. And what about Metatron's cube? Yeah, I don't use it, but yeah. So the flower of life, the Metatron's cube is within the flower of life. So are the platonic solids. That is within the flower of life. Okay. Now, all right, I'm saying that wrong. I'm totally using the wrong terminology and I'm making confusion happen. I apologize for that. Let me go back. Metatron's cube is within the daisy of death. And so are the platonic solids. They are also within the daisy of death. See, what happens is that humans assume the control system is just these controllers, maybe ET bloodlines, and the actual control system is closing down our consciousness is not on the Akashic level, and not on the light body level, and not on the frequency level. But what I'm here to tell you is that it is. It's on the frequency level, it's on the light body level, it's on many levels, this control system. And when we do transmissions with the daisy of death, right, you're reinforcing the structures. But the reason why they're doing that, the reason why that's part of the thing is because we, as our conscious multidimensionality wakes up within our biosuit, our spirit, our infinite nature actually has the power to take our biosuit over completely and destroy all of those distortion frequencies running through our system. It shatters those geometries. Okay, it shatters those false inverted encodements. It shatters these pieces. Ooh, I think Jackie might have found it. Awesome. Did you find it, Jackie? Dun, 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 dun. Thank you, dear. Aha! Yes, she did. She did. Okay, now how do I get it from my device onto my computer? Okay, you know what? I'm going to forward this to Beverly, and Beverly, if you can bring that, send that to me through Facebook, that would be helpful. Uh-oh. Okay, multitasking on this level is not a, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to send it to the Telegram group so you guys can go to the Telegram group and look at it. And then I'll also go to the Telegram group and draw it up. So, because I can share my screen with this particular software. All right, going all the way back down to the bottom. I don't know, I feel like you guys need the visual. That's all. I just really feel like that visual needs to be in place. Oh boy, okay. None of this is functioning for me. Yikes. Yikes. Okay. I'm gonna have to have help there. It's not gonna happen. So getting back to the your human spirit, your infinite nature has the power to actually just shatter all those realities. But here's the thing: our ego driver needs to be prepared for that to happen. Okay, our ego driver will go into shock if too much change happens too quickly. And this is why we're going through these phases that we're going through right now. We have to pace ourselves with the purge. We have to pace ourselves with our awakening, or else it's too much too fast and it's a shock, you know. If you guys ever seen anybody that's gone through a major traumatic event, like, you know, like the folks at, you know, in the World Trade Center, when that mega ritual happened, and, you know, people are just walking around like zombies, you know, that's what happens when too much of your reality gets destroyed at once, you know. And our infinite nature loves every particle of us and doesn't want that trauma to occur, because it'll shut us down and we won't be able to operate our biosuits once we wake up. You see what I mean? It'll literally shut our biosuits shut down. Okay. All right. Let me. So Metatron. So Metatron is a being. It's a collection. It's a council of beings that presents itself as a single being, but it's actually a council of beings. And this being is a descent of the original consciousness of a being that came to help humanity. Only thing is, as it came in through those control systems into our reality, he became bifurcated. And so he too fell in consciousness and became part of the control system. Okay. And this is shown to us holographically all over the place. I mean, look at the story of Jesus, right? We had a profound being come through the realms, through all the control systems, quite literally retake humanity for the truth of who we really are as infinite beings, the children of the universe, right? Whether you believe in him or not, doesn't matter. The fact that that being was here through immaculate conception, through, you know, the goddess, the great mother line brought him here. Pachamama brought him here. But even though he did do all those things, there was a shadow side to that, which was the control system that hijacked his message, right? So not only did we have the Christ message, we have the Antichrist message. So if you look at that as being a micro of the macro, right, of what's going on, then you can start to see what I mean, what I'm trying to say with that. I don't use, but many spiritual communities do. Yes, a lot of people embrace Metatron's cube. What I have found, there's a lot of technical stuff, AI stuff within that cube. If you dive in the cube without your belief systems and just go into the feelings of things when you're working the energy, and, you know, you'll start to get some anomalous type data sets that you don't know what to do with, because they won't fit in your particular frame of reality. This is how I explored it and realized, oh crap, you know, does humanity stand a chance? Oh, yeah, and I have to get that back to that Saturn thing. All right, so Tricky says, yes, I think the Daisy of Death really resonates with me for a long time. I only recently noticed the cubes within the Daisy of Death after you shared it next to the lotus. Oh, yeah, thank you for clearing all this up. Yeah, thank you, thank you. And Soul Schooling says, Soul Schooling, where are you? And not add another, but how did I do that? My thing's not scrolling correctly. I beg your pardon. Soul Schooling says, yes, I got sidetracked at Metatron's cube. Ha ha ha. Yeah, I never knew it was called. Yeah. Okay. How about the teachings where it says to see yourself in Metatron's cube? What's the effect of that? Yes, right. What is this? These are truths. All right. It's distortions within the truths. This is all of our reality, guys, spiritual or not, ascending or not, doesn't matter what the language is. There's always distortions within the truth. This is why I'm telling you guys about your spirit is in charge of your journey. You need to acknowledge. So if someone is really turned on by the Daisy of Death and those transmissions, it's because you need to visit it for some reason. There's some part of you perhaps lost in those teachings that you need to reclaim. There's some part of you that needs to get touched by that frequency in order to wake you up to it. You know, so there's never never really a mistake when it comes to that kind of thing. All right. It's never like, there's never wasted time in that way. I have people ask me all the time, I just want to make sure I'm on the right path and I'm not wasting any time. It's like, you know what, when you're following your feet, when you're following your spirit, you're never wasting your time. Your presence is never a waste. It's always going to bring you something beneficial, even if it's through darkness, even if it's through dark teachers. I had a teacher that, I thought was the most amazing thing on the planet. And just to find out that she was dark. But did I stop working with her? Not right away, because I realized, like, wait a minute, that was a huge blind spot. How did I even get into that? And I stuck around. It got really painful after that. But that pain, that trauma, those repeated patterns, I needed to see them. I needed to experience them so I can see things on another level. Okay, so it's a dark light, doesn't matter. Left path, right path, doesn't matter. They take you to the same place, which is the path that your spirit's taking you on. Your spirit is taking you somewhere. Your ego driver doesn't have a freaking clue what's going on, though it does eventually, as you integrate, start to wake up and figure things out slowly but surely, but only after the fact, right? That's the frustrating part. Okay, so the post from January 14th in the Telegram group. Okay, thank you, Tricky. So the post on January 14th, the Telegram group shows the graphic of what I'm talking about here. All right, and Soul Schooling says, and not to add another symbol, but what about the Merkaba? What's another one used? And that's another one used in a lot of communities. Yes. Oh my gosh. Oh, you guys, you're making me get into the boiling water here. Okay, so that's a thing. But let me ask you something. There may be a lot of communities that use the Merkaba as a vehicle, but how many of those communities agree on which direction those tetrahedrons spin? How many of those communities agree? Some say one should be going clockwise, the other one should be counterclockwise. Another says both should be going clockwise because we live in a clockwise universe or a clockwise galaxy. Now, if we know that the very control systems are also hijacking the consciousness of our galaxy, where does that put that idea, right? Some say that you want to have both moving counterclockwise, and that way you are unwinding your attachments into the false reality, right? Who agrees? None of them agree. None of them agree. And really, that teacher I was just talking about that I thought was light, that was dark, she absolutely rocked the Merkaba, and she also rocked the idea about God, speaking directly to God himself. So the Merkaba teachings never resonated with me, and that is because my interdimensional entourage have been giving me teachings that did not exist in this galaxy yet. And I know that sounds crazy, and I thought it was nuts. I thought there was something wrong with me for the longest time, but then I realized, oh my gosh, I just have this profound entourage of beings working with me that have been mentoring me in completely different ways than I've ever walked before. It's like those past life mystery school experiences were essential. Those past life experiences as different beings was absolutely essential, and they're teaching me a whole new way, a whole nother way to wake these pieces up inside. So instead of the Merkaba, what they taught me was the diamond tetrahedron. So that's when you have two four-based pyramids on top of each other that do this. And once I awaken that double tetrahedron like that diamond shape like that, then that is the light body vehicle. That was the one that was congruent with my frequency. So it was a diamond. Okay. It was not a Merkaba. No, like I said, there is no good, bad, right, and wrong. So if you're really drawn to rocking the Merkaba, there's a reason why, and you need to do it until you figure out what that reason is, right? You need to, because your spirit has you there. As you sharpen your compass, you'll start to recognize when things don't work anymore, because they won't work anymore. Things will start to deteriorate. Things will start to get stagnant. Things will start to get boring, right? That's the kind of thing that starts to happen when a teaching has taken you to the limit and you're not going to get any further with it. Then things start to stagnate and you feel stuck or not moving, or things don't feel as good as they used to feel, that kind of thing. All right, so the other one says, let's see, Tammy says, can you post a picture in the Rise group? Yeah, Beverly, can you post a picture of that in the Rise group when you find it, or whomever? Jim says, I tried to share the link, but it won't share. All right. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. All right, so Beverly says she sent it to me versus FB message. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We're going to work this out. We will work it out. There it is. Oh, cool. And I have the full screen version. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Share screen. I want to share. Boom, I want to share a Brave tab. Where is it at? There it is. Okay. You guys can see that? All right, so this is what everybody thinks is the flower of life. That's the daisy of death. This is the flower of life. This is the true feminine, the great mother flower of life. Okay. This over here is infinite movement. It'll never cease to move. This over here is highly organized and does not have a life force beyond the life force fed into it. Okay, that's the difference. The difference is that one geometry creates infinite movement, infinite light, infinite consciousness. The other one has to be fed light, has to be fed consciousness in order to continually to perpetuate. That's the difference. And if you notice, there's another version of this without it being encapsulated in a circle. So this very image is a truncated image. See, it's the micro and the macro being reflected to you here. Versus this on the left-hand side, this image, there's no truncation here. This is the orb of spin in its completion. You see what I mean? Versus this one over here, you see all these outer curves here. These are circles, interlocking circles that aren't shown. Okay. There you go. That's the image. Thank you guys. All right. We did it, you guys. Together we do it. All right, now how do I remove it? There we go. Cool. Thank you so much. Together we get it done. All right. Okay, yes, the shock. Okay, so Joanne's saying I think she's saying this is shocking. She's like, wow, this info regarding the geometries through the dimensions is fascinating. Thank you. Yes, the shock. It is so important that we understand the process needed to wake up. The tender gloves with strong intention, much compassion. All right, thank you for that. Soul schooling doesn't sound crazy, and I can totally relate. If this is soul schooling, it's hard to come across more and more teachings that most around you that are most around you are into, whoops, the most around you are into, oh shoot, this screen just moved, are into, and I never was. I'm sure I'm thankful for finding you. I sure am thankful for finding you, dear. Oh, thank you, sweetie. Yeah, I felt the same way. See, this is what this starseeds, this is how we are. We do not fit into any of those boxes because incongruencies, we feel it like in our bones. Maybe we can't put our finger on it, but we just know there's something not right. We can't explain it. We can't justify it. It's just something about it's not right. But that's because we're of a very different frequency, are in here not to perpetuate the past, not to recreate what's been done. We're here to step into the new, to dream forward, to create the new, what has not been thought of yet, what has not been imagined yet. That's why we're here. We have that capacity, you see? All right, young tripping Tricky says, I just looked up the Merkaba and that resonates with me as part of the Saturn control matrix, some of the Daisy of Death. The Merkaba is another representation of the cube pentagon. Yes, thank you. And you're bringing the Saturn piece back. Thank you, because I wanted to complete that. So in one of our dream clinics, just yesterday, we discovered a very interesting overlay. Anyways, and I'm going to bring in the planet Jupiter now. So in the beginning, I was talking about those planets being the final threshold of that 4D canopy going into, our soul's journey beyond who we think we are. And so Jupiter holds a frequency that's like the gateway of mystery schools in our mythology. Jupiter was also the god, the king of all the gods, like the prime creator of all the gods. And then you had Saturn, which is, those systems. And what we discovered in that dream clinic, and this is fascinating, guys, fascinating, is how the frequencies that Jupiter is holding, because Jupiter went through a major transformation in '94, which released all the teachings, through the solar ring. That the transmissions coming from Jupiter are distorted by a Saturn overlay. So there's actually a Saturn frequency that's encompassing the frequencies of Jupiter. It's like in those frequencies, in that consciousness emanation, is, it's getting flipped and reversed by Saturn teachings, by the Saturn frequencies. Now, not to say that Saturn is evil, because it's not. All of these planets are participating in the evolution of our consciousness, so they're all playing a role, just like dark teachers play a role. See, once you learn how to navigate the Saturn frequencies, maintaining your integrity, autonomy, and sovereignty, then you've decoded you've decoded that piece, and that's no longer something that you struggle with, right? So for those of us who have learned to take control of our health, we are the ones in charge of our health and wellness. We don't defer to a doctor to tell us what we need to be doing for our health and wellness. Many of us don't even go to doctors because we think it's, we're not in resonance with that whole philosophy. So once you learn how to reclaim your health and wellness, right, and live that lifestyle and do what you need to do for the self-care and the diet and all those ways, you've transcended the control, that level of control matrix of the dark lord of Saturn, right? You learn to educate yourself or educate your children. You reclaim the education of the future generations. That's another, you do that, you figure out how to actually have that as a reality in your life. You've just transcended another control matrix held together by Saturn. So, as you go through these pieces, as you go through each one of these control systems and figure out your own way to navigate through it, you've transcended the control system. And this group that we do the Dream Clinic, we're all in that process. Many of us are in different stages of the process of transcending control systems, but we're all in that process nonetheless. And so it was through Dreamtime, we were able to recognize how these overlays were interfering with people's transmissions and pathway to reconnecting with themselves, reconnecting with their inner infinite nature. So that was just mind blowing to me. I'm so amazed that we discovered that and then we unwound that. And this is the thing. So say you're a being like us, and you work with someone who really embraces the Daisy of Death, and they do transmissions, they're not going to affect you because you've transcended that. It's like, pink, you know what I mean? because you've transcended those control systems. You already know how to navigate around them. You're not buying into it. You're not a victim of it, right? You're done with that. You're beyond that. You're not touched. You're not harnessed by it anymore. So this is why I've told people in the past, don't worry too much about it. I'm posting this to really touch, to make contact with the people who are feeling like they have no place. Because star seeds really visit that often. They feel like they have no place because no one around them is resonating the same way. So this is why I post these things. I'm not really trying to call people out saying some are right and some are wrong. I'm just calling a spade to help out other star seeds. Now, if you love the flower of life and you resonate with it, or if you super resonate with the Merkaba, great, do it. Like I said, it's going to continue, and you're going to continue to do that until you don't. And that's just how it is. All right. So, so true. The star seeds and the way, be and feel. Yes. All right. Joanne says, yes, the new. I cannot get into the Merkaba. I felt guilty that I was simply not spiritual. I felt guilty and that I simply was not spiritual enough. Wow, Joanne, that's amazing. Okay, so all these years, all these decades, you knew. Cool. You knew without knowing, right? All right, I think the reason this is Tricky says, I think the reason why I recently noticed the control matrix within the daisy is because it's no longer serving me. I used to be very weary about the control matrix, but now I know it can't affect me anymore. Hallelujah. See, that's it. Now you guys now you see what I'm talking about. It's the way it is until it's not. And and that's just how it is. It's like that way until it's not. And we have all these belief systems in place about these certain pieces, but it doesn't need to. No. It's way more simple than that. Keep walking your path, doing what you know is right in your soul, and supporting yourself in your health and wellness, what's right within your soul, and you're not going to be steered wrong. And that's not to say you're going to divert from hardship or adversity, or it's not to say that you're not going to have challenges, because you are. It's just the way you face those challenges are totally different, and every time you work out that challenge, you're that much stronger and afterwards. You see what I mean? And that's getting me to, how do we face these challenges? Dear Sister Soul Schooling mentioned something within the Telegram group about self practices, and simple is best. I love simplicity. And she mentioned something about simple breathing exercises. The stretching out is helping her body cope, and this is what I recommend to everybody. And the breathing exercises are so potent right now because the telluric realm is waking up out of the control system. The telluric realm, by embracing what the telluric realm can offer our biosuit and our experience within our biosuit, this is a massive level of support for us. Okay. And the main piece that I'm talking about is breath work. Breath work, you are working with the telluric realm, whether you realize it or not. You're working with not only the air people, but you're working on a molecular level. You're working with the oxygen. You're working with the different gases that you're inhaling. So oxygen is the equivalent to the frequency of love. Hydrogen is the equivalent to the frequency of gratitude. Okay, so breathing exercises, by deepening the intake of oxygen, right? By deepening our presence of gratitude, we are supporting our biosuit, the mitochondria within our biosuit, in a huge way, and we benefit a lot from that. So if you have no other self-care practice in your world and want one, breathing is the one, the breath work. It's so important that I enlisted one of our facilitators in Light Body to facilitate breath work on Monday nights, because it's so stabilizing. And it stabilizes our nervous system, right? It stabilizes our internal environment. There's so many layers to it that it helps us, that it supports us. So if there's no other thing but breathing, that's enough. That's enough. All right, Soul Schooling says, yes, when I was doing the breath, when I was doing the breathing, it literally felt like everything that was alive around me was seeing me and I was seeing them. It was beyond profound and unexpected. Exactly. Exactly. And this is what's happening in the telluric realm right now. Humans are waking up to it. And as we pay attention, they are paying attention back. You see what I mean? I had an experience in my backyard the other day. It's a beautiful spring day. And I was sitting, I had my eyes closed. I was listening to the birds. There were so many birds out. And at first it started off with some cardinals and some robins. You know, they're kind of loud and they're in the forefront of my awareness. But then as I just breathed and relaxed my system and listened more and more and more, it became like a cascade of bird calls, cascade after cascade after cascade, and it get louder and louder and louder. And I was going into this altered state and actually can feel the bird calls going through my body. It was amazing, right? But this is exactly what's happening right now for starseed multidimensionals and nature. The more we pay attention to it, the more response we get. The more you pay attention to the trees, the more response you get. The more attention to different forms, the more response we get. And this is because we're waking up to that interconnected reality. We're waking up to that interconnectedness on a whole nother level, you know. And it's time. We need to re-embrace our role with our role as a creator being with the telluric realm, because what we think, what we imagine, what we feel, what we convey includes them. Okay, just like when, and last week I was talking about, with sorcery and stuff, when you're shooting anger at somebody, there's an elemental get caught up in that current and turn into a dagger, right? That is how the telluric realm is impacted by us. Now imagine if we were using our connection or utilizing our interconnectedness to breathe love, to breathe more love, more gratitude, more openness, more sense of adventure, more sense of awe, then that impacts the telluric realm as well. We're breathing that into their realm. And of course, that comes right back. Okay? That comes right back to us, because that interconnectedness is a baseline for our existence here. Okay? There are no islands when it comes to interdimensional reality. There are no islands. Even in space, it looks like there's an endless empty space between the stars. But now what science tells us that there is a intricate web of electromagnetic frequencies that we can't see that are binding all those stars together. You see what I mean? So that interconnected piece is so essential, because as we build that connection, as we accept it and allow ourselves to be supported, and we start to bring our dreams forward on what we really want, what we truly want in our reality, you have a whole population of elementals that are going to help you do that. They're going to collude with you in creating it. And then that turns into what recently I heard termed magical money. All right. Not that it boils down to money. For some people it might, but it boils down to getting what we want, like having the opportunity fall in our lap. Okay. That's grace. That's synchronicity. That's how life is meant to be. That magical walk from synchronistic moment to synchronistic moment. A lot of people believe you have to do a lot of work in order to step into the flow, right? But really, what happens is our infinite being is the flow. We are constantly flowing with nature. The problem is that there's so many backwards distortions from the control systems that we're in, that we have so many inhibitions wired within our subconscious, within our cells, that do not allow that flow. So as we step into unraveling our blind spots and our inhibitions to the truth of who we are, the more flowing we become just naturally, without any kind of process. We just are. You see what I mean? All right, darlings. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. It was really lovely to talk to you guys, and huge shout out to young trick named Jim and Soul Schooling. You guys engaging in that conversation in Telegram. That was really great. Thank you for that. And the other piece that I was thinking about talking about, I mean, I wove some of it in here, but I'll talk about it another time. Because this was important. It's important to talk about these things so we can transcend that intrepidness of, are we making a mistake, right? It's nothing. It's never a mistake. Everything is going to teach you something more and more and more. All right. Love you guys. Mwah. If you want to dive deeper into unwinding intuitive blind spots with me, I encourage you guys to check out our Dreamtime Healing Project. That's at lightbodyacademy.com. I can't speak more about this project. I love it. And now that we've really got it dialed in now, there's amazing conversations like this, but not only just the conversations, but the tracking of the energies in a group context that happens in that experience. So I encourage you guys to, if you feel called, pull the trigger. Now's the time. Don't wait. All right. Mwah, you guys. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.